along here, the entire Atlantic coast, except for Spain, which is neutral. Hello. It's controlled by the Germans. And they fortified the beaches. If you've ever played any of those video games and so forth where you've like tried to be an allied amphibious assault landing on the beaches. Exactly, yeah. It's like they're sitting up there in these pillboxes, reinforced concrete metal pillboxes, and they're just like laying fire down on U.S. forces, British and Canadian, as they're landing on the beaches. You see, how did that amphibious assault go in World War I at Gallipoli? Complete failure. Will it work out in World War II? Will we succeed on D-Day, on the beaches of Normandy? Yes, we will, at great cost. Write this down. Oh my gosh, the Americans, man. To help France become free and independent again, to open up a Western front, we are going to take very heavy casualties. And one of the cool things about this unit is that if you studied this like shortly after it all took place, you wouldn't know the full history. We know some stuff now. We fooled Hitler. You write this down. Yeah, we fooled Hitler. We intentionally fooled Hitler. Oh my gosh, it was great. I'll get the full story out there. He did not send in his panzer, his tank divisions, to pin us down on the beaches when we first landed. He held them back in reserve because he thought that was a fake landing, that the real assault was going to come up further north. Because he had intelligence. He had information that the real plan by the Americans and the British and the Canadians was to really have their main force attack to the north of the beaches of Normandy. Who provided that information to him? We did. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, there was just one dead German guy, and we like put secret plans on him and like dropped his body off. We had one of our greatest tank commanders in charge of a fake army with all kinds of fake communications and so forth going on. And we knew that the Germans bought it. We knew. We could listen in on their conversations. You ever listen in to somebody's conversation? How do we know that they were buying it? I mean, all their conversations are coded. Oh, yeah, we got a great story. If you've never seen this one, we cracked their code. Yeah, Sherlock Holmes, Benedict Cumberbatch. We cracked it. We cracked it. It was not an easy thing to do. We'll tell this as part of the story of World War II. Alan Turing, a genius, who had a difficult time in society because he was homosexual and that was not okay in Britain and so forth, but nevertheless he was a genius and he worked for us. And he cracked the code because they had this cipher, and the cipher kept changing. It was like this, and all like things. But there was one component part in every German communication that was always the same. We were like, oh, they keep repeating this thing in every German communication, and if we know that part, we can use it to unravel all the other parts. Guess what they had in every German military communication? Heil Hitler. Yeah, that little like expression of loyalty to Adolf Hitler was part of their undoing. Yeah, this guy helped like with early computer technology and so forth. Way to go, he was on our side. Top secret. So, when we were able to finally get landings on the beaches of Normandy and reinforce and get tanks and heavy infantry and so forth, we were able to start pushing the Germans back. The Soviets come at the other side. Boom. VE Day, 1945. May 8th, 1945. Germany surrenders. Did Hitler surrender? Yeah, he killed himself before then. You saw him after he got his IB math grades. He really like totally blew it. Yeah, he's like, I think, let me see, what can I do today? Let me get married, blow my brains out. Okay, all right, well, there we go. It was left to one of his top like commanders to actually surrender to the Allies. Let's play that part first while we're still fresh on that, and then we'll talk about the what happens in the Pacific, okay? World War II in Europe every day. Okay, let's pause it right there. I'm going to pause it a couple of different times so you can see one thing, and it's kind of a nuisance. After a while, you're not even going to look at it. Over here in the upper right corner is Ethiopia. You see right here? That's Italian. And Italy isn't officially in the war right at the very, very beginning. Italy will enter the war and they will be defeated. So after a while, you're not even going to be focusing on this. Yeah. Controlled by the Italians. Remember, in the last unit we talked about how Ethiopia was taken over by the Italians. It was one of the last independent European governments. So what you see right here, France, Poland, Britain, at war against Germany. Germany had already taken over Czechoslovakia. This is French-controlled Algeria and Tunisia, British-controlled Egypt, and then the British and the French, of course, had mandates in the Middle East, in what is now Lebanon and Syria, Jordan, and Palestine. This is where my mom was sent after she was in Britain during the early stages of the war. In fact, she was out with her sister going for a carriage ride with her nephew, who was the son of the man who was killed in North Africa that I talked about, and they got bombed. Yeah. So, and actually it wasn't directly going after the suburbs outside of Liverpool, which is a big port city, but they had been chased away from Liverpool. They didn't want to go back to their bases in, probably Norway at that point. So they dropped them. But yeah, Ireland, neutral. Spain, neutral. Switzerland, neutral. Sweden, neutral. They will remain neutral as the war goes on. Okay? How's it going for Poland? Yeah, that's pretty bad. Okay, so the war has begun. Historians sometimes refer to, or people at the time, they called it Sitzkrieg, because it's like, okay, well, now what are we going to do? Anticipate, oh, here are the Soviets attacking Finland, and they're also going to attack the Baltic states. Meanwhile, the French are like, maybe we should extend that Maginot Line. You think? Maybe all the way to the coast here? It's not going to be pretty when it happens. So we're in an early 1940, and here we go. The Germans plow right through Denmark. Make sure you have this all down. And then they drop troops, paratroops, and they get some things over there. This is a huge failure on the part of the British Navy. The British Navy should have been able to support Norway much, much better, but they failed. And so in early 1940, Norway and Denmark will be overcome. Now, there'll still be operatives, and we'll talk about that. There will still be people loyal to Norway, loyal to Denmark, doing what they can to disturb the Axis war effort. In fact, there's going to be some operations taking place in Norway to disturb the German nuclear program, because they're working on nuclear weapons. Yeah! Germans are pretty good at physics. So said Albert Einstein, a Jew who was forced to leave Germany, came to the United States and said, yeah, Hitler, you hate Jews, but you know what? I'm going to tell President Roosevelt that he needs to put a lot of effort into a nuclear weapons program, because if we're ever at war with Germany, we want to have nuclear weapons before they do. Did we do that? Mm-hmm. It's called the Manhattan Project. It's going to be in your notes. And we developed nuclear weapons. Did we develop them in time to use them against Germany? No. Germany had already left the war by May 1945, when we finally realized that these things work. Did we use them? To end the war in the Pacific. All right. Watch here. Oh my gosh, that was fast. I went way too fast. Here we go. Yeah, look at the Maginot. Well, here's the Maginot Line. It's still intact. See, there's the French border with Germany. But the Germans come through using the World War II version of the Schlieffen Plan. They go plowing right through. And it is going to be disgusting how quick it falls. Oh my gosh. Now here is an interesting thing here. And we'll be talking about this as well. Hitler actually took France and completely occupied the northern part, had troops in the southern part, and had a collaborationist, fake French government in the southern part around the city of Vichy. And in fact, sadly enough, the great war hero general from World War I in France, Henri Pétain, who the French liked, Hitler's going to tap this guy to be a collaborationist leader in southern France. That's pretty sad. There's the northern French territories, and it's kind of an interesting thing. Are they going to like ally now with Hitler, or are they going to like help the Free French efforts? Okay? So this is 1940. Oh, meanwhile, what's going on here in Britain? Britain's getting pounded. You can't really see that in the map version right here, but Britain's getting pounded. They're all alone. But as we'll tell the story, Hitler's talking to a buddy of his in the United States, Franklin Roosevelt. Roosevelt knows the reality. The United States can't just like jump into the war. But we can do. Write this down. The United States will do some things to help out the British. Even though we're not officially helping the British by declaring war against Germany, we will do things like lending them certain things and selling them certain things like destroyers and other equipment that they could use to help them. We'll flesh those details out. Okay, here's Italy attacking Greece. I want you to write this down. The operation, because I've got a name for it, and it's in your notes right there. The German attack on the Soviet Union is called Operation Barbarossa. All right? So you could say that big fight between Germany and the Soviet Union is all part of the initial stages of Operation Barbarossa as it plays forward. Barbarossa is an interesting name to be used by the Germans in this war. He was a great hero king from the time of the Crusades. Okay? Maya knows about Barbarossa. He was sent, back in the, I don't know, like the 1200s or 1300s and so forth. He was one of the kings that was organizing an army to go attack the Muslims in the Holy Land. Do you remember? Was that one of the ones? Because I know you've got lots of the different ones. Here's what happened to actually Barbarossa. He never fought and defeated Muslims in the Middle East because he drowned in a river on the way. Yeah, remember that guy? Yeah, it was kind of like, if you're going to name a major military campaign after a great person from the past, don't name him after somebody who drowns in a river, because that could be foretelling. Was Operation Barbarossa a success for the Germans? Did they defeat the Soviets? Nope, they did not. The Soviets, look at this, and this is something we've developed before, and you can write this down now if you want. The Soviets under Stalin, what a bear. He had forced so many people into industrializing, to take a word from Orwell and Animal Farm, to build a windmill. They built lots of industrial capacity way back here where the arrow is going, in the Ural Mountains. The Soviets had industrialized. They had military equipment. They were, in one respect, ready for World War II. And they were beyond the lines of the Germans, who were going to take a lot of territory in those initial stages. And I mean, Stalin's lucky that he got through with it. But at least they'll have a lot of military capability, industrial capability, well behind the lines, which is going to be important. Okay, so how's Italy doing? In 1940, attacking Greece, they're not doing very well. Oh, and they're also supposed to take Yugoslavia. Hitler wanted to have all of these things wrapped up right away in early 1941 because, write this down, Operation Barbarossa was supposed to start earlier in 1941, in the spring of 1941. Send the German armies into the Soviet Union in the spring? Because, I don't know, is there something when you're attacking the Soviets, when you're attacking Russia, that's maybe not a good season to be fighting them in? The wintertime. It seems like the Russians seem to have an advantage in the wintertime. Because of Italy's failure to defeat Yugoslavia and Greece very quickly, so the Germans had to divert resources to go in there to finish the job, and then they got the job done, and then they could move up and attack the Soviets. Look at the date here when the Soviets are finally attacked by Germany. It's not nearly as early as the Germans had wanted. They wanted to get that done in the spring. Are they going to attack in May? How about June? Nope. Finally. There we go. June 1941. The Soviets make some advances in there. They're taking over areas of Ukraine, and the Ukrainians, some of them hated Stalin so much, they're like, yay, somebody else has come through here. But there were a lot of Jews in Ukraine. And what was Hitler's goal with Jews? Bye-bye. Yeah, they would kill many of them in their towns right there and then. So the Ukrainians went very quickly from being a welcoming force to a resisting force against the Germans. Okay? There you got Leningrad being surrounded. So you got battle. Yeah, winter. Yeah. It's like, so where's the fighting going on in World War II? Right here. Lots of people fighting and dying. And the Finns are not doing bad. I mean, Finns are holding out against the Soviets. And they're getting some help from the Nazis at this point, because they're kind of on the same side. Although I don't think the Finns allow, any Jews to be taken from there, but there'll be plenty of Jews in this area right here, in Poland and Ukraine and Russia, as well as Anne Frank in the Netherlands, her family, and my uncle's family in Vienna. 1942. It's like, oh my gosh. Is the United States in the war at this point? Yes. Yes. Oh, did you notice? That was fast. Yeah, we landed on the beaches of North Africa. So we got the British here. We got the United States here. This is the turning point. The Battle of Stalingrad. Oh my gosh, look at that. This is the turning point. End of 1942 and in 1943. The Germans are starting to lose on the Eastern Front, and the German forces are losing in North Africa. And this is still before D-Day. That's not going to happen until June 1944. D-Day is going to occur right here where I've got my arrow, in Normandy, where you're going to have massive amphibious assaults. We got a huge army right here in Britain ready to be transported by water across the English Channel. Who knows where? Well, we know where, but Hitler is given false information. Ha ha. Sucks to be Hitler. Notice, meanwhile, the British and the United States are moving up the Italian peninsula. We do take Rome. Mussolini is overthrown. But we're going to get stuck here. We're not going to be making massive incursions all the way up through the north. Our main area is to try and get into North France and then go from there. Wintertime, not a great time for amphibious assault. Of course, the Russians are still slogging away. Yeah. Meanwhile, over here in what had been Poland, lots of death camps established by the Germans are going to be eventually liberated by the Soviet military. And you'll see that in Hitler's lip. Which is actually a lot better than having the Nazis still in charge. There's D-Day. Woo! We got a beachhead. Can we expand on our beachhead? Yes, we're going to Brittany. We're going to northern France. Oh, and we got a beachhead down in the south. Oh, ho, ho, this is going well. Oh, I like it. Okay, 1944. Hitler, you're correct. Hitler is done for. Yeah. Who is going to conquer the capital city of Berlin first? You can write this down. Who conquers the capital city of Berlin first? Russia. Soviet. They are going to be pretty brutal. Not a big surprise there. Okay? I think right in here, before the war is officially over, you'll see the Soviet troops and the United States troops meeting right in here. Oh, yay, hi, how are you doing? That was fun. Boom. Bing, bang, boom. We won. Okay, there's the visual, okay? All right. Let's take a look at the one in the Pacific is a little bit more straightforward. Let's go ahead and talk about this. Write this down. In the Pacific, it's going to be predominantly the United States versus Japan. Write this down. The Pacific Theater, the United States versus Japan. Okay? Now, we do know already, 1937, the Japanese had been attacking China. And they're making inroads there. They took Nanking. Yeah, they sure took Nanking. And they're taking a lot of the coastal areas. Who else actually has assets in that part of the world that the Japanese would be like, wow, these guys, they could be a bit of a problem, but maybe they won't be that much of a problem? Britain. Britain had Hong Kong. Britain had Malaysia. When Britain gets fighting defensively over in Europe, they're not going to be much of an asset here. They will be fighting in Burma as well as India trying to stop the Japanese. But the British by themselves, you can write this down, the British by themselves are not going to be able to beat Japan. How about the Dutch? The Dutch have the East Indies, what is now Indonesia, all the islands there. What happens to the Netherlands in World War II? Yeah, they got taken over very quickly by Germany. So there's not going to be much resistance by the Dutch forces when the Japanese come and take those over as well. How about the French? The French have control over what is called French Indochina, Southeast Asia, places that we now call Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos. Let's see, what happened to France during World War II? Yeah, they got beat. So the Japanese will find very little resistance ultimately in that area. So they're going to expand into Southeast Asia, and it's going to be brutal for the people. Oh, wait, the Philippines. The Philippines, that's our territory. Yeah. Are we going to be able to put up an effective defense in the Philippines? No. General MacArthur, you'll learn his name. We'll have you write his name down before. He was U.S. commander in the Philippines. He's ultimately going to have to evacuate, although he does say, I shall return. And ultimately, that is true. He does. The main thing, write this down, the main thing that the Japanese are concerned about is the United States. And the United States, it's a difficult thing because they're looking as like, do they want to fight the United States? No, they don't want to fight the United States. But does the United States want Japan to continue like using oil resources and so forth to take on China? No. So they took a great risk. And they attacked us at Pearl Harbor. They figured they could, one, destroy a big component of our Navy. Write this down. They did destroy a big component of our Navy. December 7, 1941. They sunk a whole bunch of battleships and other important ships that were parked Pearl Harbor in what they thought was a safe harbor. December 7th, 1941. They hit us real hard. They know we're going to be at war with them. Although maybe they thought, maybe the United States will be like, oh, that hurt. Let's just back off. You know, let Japan do whatever it wants over in Asia. That's so far away. I mean, it's not like you guys are ever going to have to deal with a decision as far as like, will the United States stand up for friends in that part of the world? Is there a friend in that part of the world right now that is like being looked upon? Really, Taiwan? What's Taiwan? Oh, this is China part that's not communist. Are they friends of ours? Does communist China want them back? Really? Is communist China like building up a military to accomplish that purpose? If you watch the news, you'd hear literally like the people for President Biden's administration and previous military people going, yeah, if they really wanted to do it, the Chinese probably could carry it out today. They built up their Navy sufficiently they could pull it off. What would be one thing the United States would be like, you don't do that. Or else what? What do we use as a way to say, these are our friends, and to show you that they are our friends, and we will not let them go to you without a fight, we will potentially, likely, use what? What? Oh, sanctions. Ooh, sanctions. Ooh. Those work really, really well. Oh, China, we're not going to trade with you. Wait a minute, we buy most of our stuff from China. I mean, like, what do we have in our arsenal? Shanti, what do we have in our arsenal that if we were to say, China, don't even think about it, Taiwan is our friend? Exactly, nuclear weapons. I mean, when we get to the Cold War, you're going to spend a lot of time in the Cold War. That's the thing. It's like, don't do this, otherwise, World War III, hashtag. I mean, we're willing to fight. Question, raise your hand. Yeah, let's see how many Chinese viewers. Raise your hand if you're willing to use nuclear weapons to protect the integrity and autonomy of Taiwan. One hand. Raise your hand if you're like, no, they're not that close a friend with ours, and so forth. If you're not willing to, yeah. You guys are going to deal with these issues because the United States, are we still climbing up in prestige and importance in the world? Or are we kind of... And is anyone watching this? So, let's back it up. 1941, Japan attacked us at Pearl Harbor. Did that calculation turn out well for them? No, write this down. In the attack at Pearl Harbor, there were some critical assets that were not in the Pearl Harbor naval facilities that day. Aircraft carriers. Whoops. Who cares about aircraft carriers? Well, the Japanese certainly do, because without aircraft carriers, they would not have been able to attack us at Pearl Harbor. Where do you think those planes came from that dropped all those bombs and torpedoes that sunk all our ships? From aircraft carriers for the Japanese. They came in literally, they came in here to the north and attacked us. Where were our aircraft carriers, like the Saratoga that my dad was ultimately assigned to after he graduated from high school in 1944? They were on training out in the ocean. That was just how things worked out. Oh my gosh, if we had had our aircraft carriers taken out, that would have been really bad because, write this down, and this is going to be hard to see in the map version of this. Write this down. When we decided we are at war, we were mad. When Roosevelt went to Congress the next day and said, I want you to declare war, Congress was like, yeah, we're going to do this. And then when Hitler was stupid enough to sort of like, oh yeah, my Japanese, we'll give you support and so forth, and we'll declare war against the United States, we're like, bring it. President Roosevelt's like, fine. You declare war on me, Japan declare war on me, we're going to get this thing done. So what is the fight going to be like in the Pacific? Write this down. It's going to be mostly naval battles. Initially. The Battle of Midway. You're not going to really be able to see it much here, but the Battle of Midway, right in here, is going to be a major fight between our aircraft carriers and their aircraft carriers. And this is before really good detection systems where you can spot their... In order to spot where their aircraft carriers are so that we could drop bombs on them, we have to have guys flying up in the air and they're like, oh my gosh, there they are. We sunk a critical component of the Japanese aircraft carrier force in the Battle of Midway, and that was the turning point. We crippled the Japanese Navy. Write this down. From that point on, our Navy is going to be providing transportation services to the United States Marine Corps. And the United States Marine Corps is going to slog it out. It's like D-Day every few weeks. Slog it out on the beaches of critical islands in the Pacific. Why are we attacking little islands in the Pacific? Oh, air bases. What importance is Iwo Jima as an island with an air base? Oh, so we can launch strategic bomber attacks to hit Japan. Boom, 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 and cripple their ability to actually produce the stuff you need to fight a war? Yeah. And then from Iwo Jima, I believe it was Iwo Jima, we did launch the Enola Gay, which was the first flight to drop the atomic bombs. Boom. Let's look and see how it visually plays out. Yeah, VJ Day, September 2nd. This was within several weeks of the dropping of the bombs at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They had about a month to go. Here we go. Let's take a look at the war. So don't pay as much attention to the Europe part. I mean, it's on there. You've seen it before. There's the British. I'll pause it right here. The initial stages, obviously, we got China fighting against Japan. There's the French Indochina. Australia and New Zealand are going to be allies. British controlled India, and then you got British, French controlled areas in the Africa. Not as much fighting going on in Africa or southern Asia or the Middle East, frankly. Okay? So basically what you've got going on here is stuff that we were familiar with from the last unit. Who's fighting against the Japanese in China? Which Chinese? The nationalists, the communists, or both? Both. Which one primarily? The nationalists. Yeah, they're taking it on the chin on a regular basis. Okay? So you notice this, the Japanese have got a lot of the control of the coast areas of China. It's going to be really, really hard to provide support. Here are the Dutch East Indies has fallen. The The French area has fallen since France fell. Yeah, Vietnam is the country right along the coastal area right there. That'll be covered next year in the Vietnam War. Okay, so there's Japan taking it over. Japan waits a while. They're like, well, they got plenty to do right here. They're hoping the United States is going to stay out of it. Obviously, we're doing an oil embargo, trying to prevent Japan from doing that. And Japan's like, well, what should we do about those stupid Americans? You know? I mean, literally, at that point, it's like, pfft. Yeah, it's like all this is taking place. It's like, come on, let's move this along. December 7th. Yep, I'm going to move it forward a little bit. October. November. And actually, again, when December 7th comes along, okay, there we go. We got the attack. What happened here? Japan has started to attack the Philippines. They're going to start moving into the Dutch East Indies. A lot of our soldiers captured in Japan by Japanese forces in the Philippines, not treated too well. We'll see. That's one of the things we'll focus on in this unit. It sucks to be a soldier captured by the Japanese. It sucks to be a civilian captured by the Japanese as well. It sucks to be anyone captured by the Axis during World War II. Yeah. Yeah, Thailand is, yeah, they've come under the control of the Axis at that time. So, it's kind of like when you see a little bit of movement, like right in this area, you know that there's going to be thousands of United States Marines fighting and dying against tough Japanese forces defending their positions in the Pacific. Oh, well, things are going better over here. Yay, that's good news. Woohoo! I tell you what, and as allies, we're like, any little bit of good news is good. We can win this thing. Yeah, the wars of my parents were ultimately on a trajectory of winning, unlike some of the wars we fought in modern times. Afghanistan, oh, is that still going on? Oh, dear. Okay. 43. Make some progress. You want some progress? Let's jump ahead here. Oh, it's still not much progress. How about 44? Still not much progress. Oh my gosh. Let's go to the latter part of 44. Oh, we got a little bit here. Woo! Got a little bit. Oh, we're getting some more progress here. A lot of lives lost. Oh, we're starting to get back in the Philippines. 45. Okay, do we got enough bases close enough to hit Japan strategic? Oh, we got some bases right here. Let's keep hitting. Oh, Iwo Jima! We can fly off planes now. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, you guys got to wipe down your desk too. There's still that part. When did we drop the bomb? The first bomb? August. I think it's the 6th. Yep. Boom, boom. War over. Okay. Okay, and I actually have to go to the bathroom too. Okay. So literally after you wipe down, I'm like, you need to go because I need to go too. We've only got so much time. Okay? You're welcome. Thank you.